Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from JennyCarddesigns. Thanks so much for joining me today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting tutorials and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. Today I have a fun video sharing some inspiration to chop up my 12x12 paper pads, as well as creating an envelope for an extra large card. I have a paper pad from Michaels and it's called Country Cottage. It has some very nice colorful images as well as a really fun fruit pattern that I really like. It's really cute with some butterflies and stuff. So that's the one that I'm going to use for today's video. And then I'm going to pull in my Jen-Velope template reference book. Now this book is a book that you can purchase. It's available for physical purchase or digital download, and inside of it I have multiple templates for different size envelopes, and each set of templates has a coordinating page on how to cut up a card base that will fit that envelope, as well as layer measurements for each respective type of card. There are a few different types of slimline envelopes and a few different types of mini slimline envelopes, and I've also got square envelopes. And for today's video I'm going to use this big envelope. This is called an A8 business style envelope, and it basically fits a card that is the size of a half sheet of cardstock. So I'm going to show you how to create that envelope and the card, and then we're going to make a fun card to coordinate. So first thing my template book tells me is that I need a piece of paper that measures 12 by 12 inches. So I'm going to pop this piece into my scoreboard and I'm going to start making some scores. So according to my template, I need to score at 2.5 inches and then 8.25 inches. So I'm just going to set my template book aside and I'm going to start scoring my cardstock, making sure that it is nice and tight up into the corner of my scoreboard. I'll make my first score at 2.5 inches, and then the next score at 8.25 inches. And then I'm going to check my template guide, and it tells me that I need to rotate my paper one turn and then make two scores. The first one at 1.5 inches and the second one at 10.5 inches. Okay, so that's all we're going to need to do for the scoring. And we finished the first few steps in the template. Now the next part, we're going to cut off these four corners. In the template guide, they're marked out sort of light yellow, and we're just going to cut off those four corners. Straight cuts, nothing complicated here, super easy. We're going to cut all four of those off, and then we'll come back together and take a look at the template book. At this point, you should have a little something that looks like this. I'll just flip it over so that you can see better. Okay, so the next step in the template, we're going to angle cut those four corners on those little flaps that are sticking out. So we're going to cut those off. I'm just going to create 45-degree angles and I'm just going to cut. You're not going to see these really, so I wouldn't worry about them too much, but it's just to help everything fold together nicely. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and crease all of my score marks and apply adhesive to close up my envelope. So you'll notice here that we have a smaller piece and a larger piece. The larger piece is where we're going to add adhesive, and I'll show you that in just a moment. I'm going to grab my bone folder and crease all of these folds, making sure I get nice sharp creases and everything folds together nicely. Okay, so here's where you can see the difference in the top and the bottom. You'll see the top flap is smaller than the bottom, and the bottom is where we're going to apply adhesive and seal the envelope shut. When you're ready to mail this envelope, you can add adhesive to the top flap to seal your card into your envelope. So I'm going to grab some dot liner here, and I'm just going to apply adhesive along the left and right side of the bottom flap of this envelope. Now, because I have nice thick sides on this envelope, I can apply a generous amount of adhesive and make sure that my envelope stays together nicely. And I'll just use my bone folder to burnish that adhesive in, and then there we go, our envelope's complete. So the final envelope measures 5 3/4 by 9 inches. And this is going to fit a card that measures 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So I'm going to pull out a bunch of rainbow cardstock. I just want to kind of dig through my cardstock, and I'm going to create a colored card base, and I just want to kind of see which color I think matches my pattern the best. And I settled on this beautiful red. I think this is Simon Says Stamps Schoolhouse Red. It is a nice heavyweight cardstock and it matches perfectly. So let's make that into a card base. I'm going to flip back to my Jen-Velope template reference book, and I'm going to take a look at the A8 card base template. And it tells me that I need a piece of cardstock that measures 8.5 inches by 11 inches. Across the 11-inch side, I'm going to score at 5.5 to create my card base. So let's do that. We'll come back to the card layer measurements when I'm ready to decorate the inside and outside of my card. So back to my scoreboard here, across the 11-inch side, I'm going to score at 5.5 inches. And I'm going to do both sides because this is pretty heavyweight cardstock. I want to make sure that I get a nice score. And then I'm going to grab my bone folder and crease that scored line. And I'll just make sure that my card base is lined up the way I want it. It's not kind of wonky or anything. And then there we go. We have a beautiful 5.5 by 8.5 inch card base to work with. And it fits perfectly inside of our extra large envelope. I love sending big cards. It just sends a bigger message, I think. And I just find that they're lots of fun. All right, back to the Jen-Velope template reference book. I want to kind of determine the size that I want for my card. I'd like to keep a nice red border around this card base. So I'm going to choose a layer measurement that's going to allow me to show my card base as well as a nice large image. So I'm going to take a piece of cardstock that measures 4.5 inches by 7.5 inches, and I'm going to adhere that on the inside of my card. I also took a few little scraps of the pattern paper that we used for the envelope and just kind of popped it on the corners so they were kind of like photo mats almost. I guess it just kind of ties things together. It brings the envelope inside of the card, and I like coordinating things like that. So I'm going to get this lined up and adhere it down on the inside of my card base. And now I'm going to work on the front of the card. I'm going to go back to my paper pad and pull out the second sheet of paper that matches my envelope. And I'm going to cut a piece of this that measures 4.5 by 7.5. I like that size measurement. It gives me a nice border around the front of my card. And I'll save my scraps for another project. I can make plenty of things with that leftover paper. I won't waste that. So I'm going to adhere this down to the front of my card. And also in the paper pack, there are some cut-aparts. I didn't feel like doing any stamping or anything, so I'm just going to grab one of those cut-aparts to create a sentiment for the front of my card. I've also got some gold foil cardstock that I applied some double-sided adhesive to. I've created a video that shows you how to make your own little adhesive foil strips like this, and I'll leave this video linked in the description box down below as well as up on screen for you so that you can see how to do that. So I'm going to take that cut apart that says Homegrown Love, and I'm going to use some foam squares and pop that up. It also has some gold foil on it that ties into that little gold foil strip. I think that's really cute. So I'm going to line this up on my card base, making sure there's all the same amount of space on the top and the bottom and the left. So it's just evenly placed. And then that's it. I'm going to call this card done. Nothing complicated here. This is a lovely card to send a beautiful hello or a gift or for a birthday or whatever you want to do. You can send it for no reason at all. And I grabbed a little bit of that extra foil strip and I lined my closing flap of my envelope with that. I feel like those little extra touches really step up your projects. The last thing I'm going to do is take a piece of cardstock and adhere this down to the front of my envelope. And this is where we can write our recipient's address if we're going to mail it. And I'm also going to add a little strip of foil to the front of that too. I think these little small touches just tie everything together, from the envelope to the card to the inside and the outside and so on. And the actual last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere a piece of foil on the inside flap of my envelope, just as an envelope liner. So I'm just going to cut a piece that will cover that white portion of my envelope, and I'm only going to apply adhesive to the top flap of the envelope. This way it allows that paper to kind of freely move as we open and close the envelope without any stress. So I'll get that adhered down and lined up the way I want it, and then I'm going to pop it in my scoreboard and score the flap one more time so that I can score that foil cardstock and it will help it close easier. So I'm going to go ahead and score that, and then I'll just work in that fold. I'll grab my bone folder and press, and because it's become a little bit thicker, I want to make sure that I don't split or crack my cardstock. And then there we go. This envelope is complete. The card project is complete, and everything is just so fun and pretty, and I love all those extra little touches. Here's a close-up look at our finished card project today. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and gotten some inspiration to chopping up your cardstock. If you're interested in my Jen-Velope template reference book, I have this book plus 4 others available for purchase on my website. You get a great deal when you buy the bundle. Check it out. Everything will be linked in the description box down below. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate the support as always. Coming up on screen is a video that I think you may enjoy that shares more inspiration on chopping up your 12x12 cardstock. Thanks again for joining me. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!